All right. Hope everybody's having a good weekend and beautiful weather here in Jersey. It's August 14th, 3:11 p.m. Crazy Friday in the markets. Obviously, the market's moving higher. Just wanted to do kind of like a little weekend recap of what's happened. Maybe what we got. Maybe what we can be looking forward to in the next week. And I thought I saw some interesting things in the market that I'd like to point out to everyone. Um, let's just go over the daily charts. I'm not going to do any kind of future analysis or anything like that. This is more about the overall market and look at the charts, things I see, points of resistance, things why I feel the S&P is moving very fast and the NDX is moving, but there's some underpinnings that are holding it back a little bit, and you'll see what I mean about that. So let's go into the charts. Okay, so what we got in the SPX, obviously we gapped higher here, held the gap. We gapped higher again, closed the gap, but then that was the fuel for shorts to cover for the move on Friday, right? So all good in the SPX. Now, if the overall scheme of things, that's what I kind of want to go over today, okay? In the overall scheme. So from these highs, okay, all-time highs, 48.18 in the SPX. Obviously, we made lows all the way down to, I believe that's the 16th of June. Okay, so I did draw a fib from the top to the bottom, and what do you know it? The 50% retracement has been breached, and we closed above it on Friday. Okay, I'm not telling you that we're going to all-time highs. I'm just saying that's a very pivotal number. We retraced half the move. That's a very strong close on Friday. And usually closes on Friday tend to have some type of continuation on Mondays. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. I'm just saying that's usually what happens. Okay. So that's what we've done in the SPX, just macro wise, right? So I'm going to keep going back and forth between the two NDX and the SPX, okay? And the one thing I want you to notice here is kind of this meteoric late move. It's kind of a little bit of parabolic in a way, not for this day, but I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things from here to here, it's been a pretty nice move up, right? So let's go to the index and see where that's at. Okay, so in the NDX, same thing, right? From all-time highs, I made a fib to the lows. Okay, now you notice here 50% retracements here. Okay, we have not breached that yet in the NDX. Remember, NDX was a lot weaker. Tech was a lot weaker, right, than the overall market and the S&P. Okay, so what do we have going here? So we haven't reached that 50% level yet in the NDX. Okay, and you can see here the difference in just this price action here in the NDX is not as it's not as straight up as the SPX, right? You can see a difference. We kind of like came down, then we kind of moved up, but guess what? We only took out the highs of Thursday by a slight amount, okay? And I had this level on my chart, just 135.42 in the NDX. Okay, NDX, Qs, NASDAQ, whatever you want to call it. We're looking at the same market, right? So I was looking to see if I'm saying on Thursday, I want to see if the NASDAQ can break this level, this resistance right here, which is why I have this level here. Okay, we also have a channel resistance here. Okay, so we kind of broke it slightly, but what I call it a break it and hold it, not yet. No, not yet, right? So obviously comparing the two, NDX didn't cross the 50% retracement line. SPX did, closed above it. Okay, so now that you saw that, okay, let's go back to the SPX. Let's just point out what potential roadblocks there are in store. Okay, so we have resistance here that I marked off here. Okay, so that's that 4307 level in the SPX. Okay, we also have a rising wedge. I'm not saying I put a ton of weight into it, but that is also here as resistance. Okay, so right now I just gave you resistance of a rising wedge. Okay, I gave you the resistance of the top of this consolidation, which I still have here, is 4307. Okay, there's a lot, so that's why this is very important. Okay, this is going to be huge walls that the SPX is going to come up to, which I expect it to, and to, get rejected or bounce from there. Okay, but so we got, here's our number one. Our rising wedge is our number two. That's a horrible number two. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. Okay, number three, okay, we have is this red moving average. That's the 200 moving average. That's number three, right? What do we have again? Well, we have this trend line. That's number four. Right there is trend line resistance, right? And let's add one more there. The 61.8 Fibonacci, which is 43.67. Okay. Most times when you see a retracement more than 50%, that could go either way. But when you see it retrace 61.8%, it's very unlikely that it's going to go back the other way. More than likely, we're going to break it, hold it, and we're going to move higher. 61.8, you retrace 61% of that, almost 62% of the move. Okay, so that's a lot of resistance, what I just showed you. Okay, that's a lot of resistance coming up. That's just something I want to point out. Okay, let's move over to the NDX now. Go back to the NDX. All right, so in the NDX, we're sitting at this resistance here. That's one. We're sitting at it. Okay, still I consider it broken slightly, but not quite. So in the NDX, kind of similar things. Okay, look at this. We have a channel here. You can see the channels going up here, right? That is number two resistance, right? What do we have again? 200 moving average. What do we have over here? Instead of the 61.8 in the SPX, we have the 50% retracement that it has not moved against yet, would act as resistance. And finally, we have another trend line. Okay, that's going to act as resistance. So we've made a nice move. I'm just pointing out what could be tough to just initially go through. That's a lot of resistance and a lot of confluence in those areas, right? So we need things to get on board with the NDX fully, and the SPX really too, but the NDX, right? Tech moves the market. Tech is 27.9% of the S&P, right? And the S&P really truly speaks about the whole market because it's diversified. Okay, it's a diversified, Nasdaq is tech, really. It's very tech heavy. But the tech heavy part is what moves the market. You want that to be that's got to be moving really great to give you a nice push. Okay, so key points to point out: that the SPX cleared the 50% retracement, NDX didn't. That's as clear as I can get it, right? But if we want to get more granular, and why the SPX has kind of had a better move as of late than the NDX. Okay, so if we dive into it and we dive into the sector, so now I'm going to go into the sector so we can break down what I'm talking about here. Okay, why? You want to know why that the S&P has moved more, right? More than the market, right? Well, I'm going to talk about the sectors. Now, first, what I'm going to talk about here is I'm going to bring up, this is the sector breakdown of the S&P 500. And this is very important to look at because it's the sectors by index weight. By index weight, each sector has an index weight, right? And you can see here the XLK sector is 27.9%. Okay, healthcare is 14.3%, and they go in descending order. Okay, so you have healthcare 14.3, consumer discretionary 11.5, financials at 10.6, communication at 8.4, industrials at 7.8, staples 6.6. You can see how they start to go down. Okay, and you can start to see the sectors at the bottom. They're not the heaviest weight. They're not really going to move the market much. The top four is really going to move the market. So information technology, XLK, XLV, XLY, and XLF, they are going to move the market. Okay, you need them in. You usually want them to be all together in green, and that the market's going to go. The market can go if they're not in agreement, but when you want a full move, well, I'm talking like crazy bullish move, all of them got to go green, right? So just an interesting fact about these sectors, right? So, like I said, the NDX's move has kind of been muted a little bit as of late. So, if you break it down, okay, by the sector, so let's take the XLK. It's 27.9% of the S&P, okay? The largest weights in it is Apple and Microsoft, okay? So, look at the XLK here. You can clearly see, I'm going to go back to this, okay? I'm going to go back to that list too, but I'm going to look at XLK, okay? XLK has moved pretty nicely, right? That's moved pretty nicely. Why is that? XLK has moved pretty nicely, right? You dive into it. Look at Apple and Microsoft. All you got to do is look at Apple. Look at that. That's XLK. Look at Microsoft. I mean, give me a sec to get. I mean, look at Microsoft. It's not as strong as Apple, but pretty nice move, right? Those are the largest holdings. Okay, almost at the 200 moving average. Apple's way above it. I mean, go back to that meteor Apple, way above it. Crazy move. XLK, right? That's why you see that. That's why you see that sector like that, right? Okay. Now this is where I'm going to get into why that NDX can be held back a little bit. Okay. Now, first one I'm going to look at. I know it's not one of the sectors I brought up, but it's important for semiconductors. Okay. Let's look at semiconductors. This move is not, yes, this move here, but look at it as late. Went down, went up, and we're at a key resistance level, right? Not a really. Does that look like Apple? Doesn't look like Apple, right? So Nvidia, AMD, we're talking about here. It's kind of a muted move as of late. Went all the way down, came back up. We're back at a resistance level, okay? Okay, case in point. Let's go to discretionary. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's go in order. Let's go XLV, okay? XLV, look, key resistance line. Look at as of late. Chop, 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 chop. Resistance, right? Largest holdings, Johnson & Johnson, United Healthcare. Johnson & Johnson is falling, okay? And I'm not telling you this is a bear case. I'm just explaining to you, you know. So this right here, XLV, not bad, coming up to a resistance line. I'm just giving you, Johnson & Johnson has kind of been weak. Hence why this has been struggling a little bit, right? So let's go down to the next one, right? Discretionary. Let's look at discretionary, right? As a resistance line, important key level, right? 169. Okay. Is this looking like it's, look at those red candles and we came up here, right? Is this looking like crazy bullish? Not really. Hence why that's been kind of held down a little bit. Who are we talking about here? We're talking about Amazon, talking about Tesla, we're talking about Home Depot. Okay. Let's just look at Amazon. Amazon's kind of hitting that 200 moving day average. Okay. Look at it. Chop, 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 chop. Okay, right? Let's look at Tesla. Tesla had some weakness. Sorry for the crazy chart right there. Let me look at that. Chop, 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 chop. 200 moving day average. And we're just chopping, right? Holding it back. Right? That's what's holding it back. Okay, now I just want to go, this one go a little out of order because I just want to make sure you see some heavyweights in here. Let's go to communications. Communications is caught a little bit of a bid, but it's not going crazy, right? It's not crazy at all. Okay. We got key resistance here at about 161, but like it's hitting its 100-day moving average. But look, it's not going nuts, right? Who we talking about here? Meta, Google, Netflix, okay? And when you look at those, they're not, Google's broken out of a huge level and it's like meandering, okay? It's meandering. If we look at that, just really quickly, we look at Google, okay? This is what I wanted to talk about, right? If we look at Google, broke out of this level. I mean, it was in this freaking channel for a while, right? Broke out, but like, look, I mean, normally you break out of this level, you're going to expect some huge move. It's not really giving it to you. Look at the volume, lower, 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 right? Well, I understand this is August, people are on vacation, but I'm just saying, right? This is communications, right? I mean, let's look at Meta's. Look at Meta's chart. All right, look. I mean, it's coming up to a resistance line, but it's like kind of chopping around a little bit. It's not nuts. It's not going crazy. I mean, you can look at Netflix. All right. I mean, at a resistance, at a gap here. Nothing to go crazy about. Okay. So I think you get my point. Those are some big stocks that I'm talking about. Those are some big stocks that I'm talking about, right? So if we go back to the sector breakdown, okay, I did some like little math. Now I'm not no math scientist or nothing like that, but it's not hard to add these up. So the ones that don't move in the market: materials, real estate, utilities, staples, industrials. Okay, I added them up, and minus energy. Okay, minus energy. They came to 26.9% of the S&P. 26.9. The largest holding is 27.9. So those little guys equal the amount of technology, right? So here's the sectors that I talked about, and we're going to go to them right now. Okay, industrial 7.8%. Let's look at industrials chart. Well, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Why the S&P? Look at that move. Let me put the chart up for you. I don't want to repeat what I did on Friday. Let's go back to that again. Industrial 7.8% of the market. Not a huge market move, but a bigger chunk. But look at this move from these lows, 84, and we're all the way up here. Huge, right? You can see, right? Let's go to the next one down. Okay. Utilities. Utilities, right? Let's look at utilities. Look at this. From here. Rocket ship. Rocket ship. Right? Let's look at real estate. Another nice move. Look at this as of late. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Materials. And I'll be honest, I don't pay attention to these sectors much. But this is why S&P is cooking. Look at this. Materials. Now, the one I didn't mention that is a heavyweight, that is a big contributor to this, is financials. Financials is 10.6% of the market. Let's look at financials, okay? Boom. Another huge one. Look at that gap up to a key level. So I hope now that I showed you that, okay, that is why there's a difference between the two, between the NDX and the S&P. Okay, that's why S&P has moved past the 50%. That's why the index is being held back a little bit. Okay, financials, which is a heavyweight, it's one of the top four, so that's very important, right? Talking about J.P. Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Okay, that is a nice move. All right. However, you did notice, okay, that all these things I just showed you, though. Let's look at one more time. We can look at the sectors, and there's one common theme that I also want you to realize. Now that I explained why S&P is so hotter than the than the NQ or the Nasdaq or the Qs, right? I just explained that it's the little sectors plus financials that are really cooking, right? That is the difference between just tech. Okay, so let's look over these charts one last time, and this is why I think we're at a very key pivotal moment in the market. Okay, I already showed you the resistance levels, right, in the overall NDX and SPX. If you get granular into the sectors, well, look at each sector. We're going to go to each sector, and every chart I have is at a key resistance level almost. Semiconductors at a key resistance level. Okay, now I'm not going to count these little guys, the basic materials, the real estate, like those are the little charts. I don't really pay attention to them much. Just when I saw these meteoric moves from them, that was important. But I just want to go by the big guys. Okay, discretionary. We talked about it. Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot. Look, key level at a key resistance level. Energy, key resistance level. Technology. It's kind of like the Nasdaq a little bit, right? This is kind of like Apple, Microsoft, coming up to 200-day moving average, right? Resistance. Okay, everything's making sense, right? Because everything comes together. Financials at a key resistance level. Real estate, like I said, doesn't matter. Healthcare, key level. Look at that level. Woo! Industrials. Now, industrials. I'm sorry, I didn't go over that earlier. Look at that nice move. Industrials. That's UPS. You know, that's Union Pacific, Raytheon. That is a nice move as well. Okay. That is, I think I did go over that, 7.8%. Okay, that is a nice move. It actually broke a key level, so that's probably the only one that's the strong one that broke resistance. Okay, utility. Let's go to the next. Communications. Let's look at that. I'm sorry. Let me just have my one chart with the levels on it. Okay. Now this communications, hitting a 200-day, 100 moving day average, but this has a key resistance out of it. Okay, and then let's look at staples. Staples at a key resistance level. Okay, so we have resistance in all the sectors except really industrials. So, we got to break all those resistance levels to move farther. Okay, but bringing everything together, that I said all those resistance levels that were in the SPX, right? Bringing everything together. Okay, I'm going to go back to the sectors. I'm sorry, go back to the SPX chart. Just give me 1 second here. Right? And there's just a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do, right? So we're in August. I'm not expecting a ton of volume, right? But we do have some volatility still. So I'm just saying here, there's not prediction here. I'm just saying, I'm showing you the weightings in the sectors, explaining why the S&P has moved higher than the NQ. Okay, showed you kind of what was holding back the NQ, and then showed you everywhere there's resistance. Okay, everywhere is resistance. So we got some work to do. I don't have any prediction right now because I'm going to look to see what levels break. The NDX level is really key for me still. Okay, I want to see this break. Because if this breaks and holds, but we have this resistance here at this trend line here, right? If this holds and we start holding here, then we're gonna try to make the move to the 50% to the 200-day moving average. Okay, that's really my key still. Okay, because that will bring S&P with it. If some of those other sectors that are smaller weighted can't move higher, it will bring it. Okay, so I hope this made sense to everybody. It's something that, like, when you get granular and someone really wants to know why is the market moving? Why is Google and Meta weak? Why is Tesla's weak? Amazon's chopping around. They're not going flying high. Okay, Apple's doing that, and Apple's just got a lot of weight. Okay, so it makes it look almost like, whoa, everything's flying, when not the case under the hood. Apple's making that move. Right? Tesla's not making much of a move. Google's struggling. Meta's struggling. They made moves with gap ups. Don't get me wrong. But when I mean intraday, they're not flying like Apple has been flying. Okay? So I'm just putting it out there. I'm not a bear. I'm not a bull. I flow whatever the market does. Okay? The only thing I want to say now, that I want to go over now, is just what we have coming up on the news front. Okay. The only thing to me important on the news is Wednesday. And what do we have, right? What do we have? On Wednesday at 2 p.m., we have the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. That's the market mover for this week. Will it do something? I don't know. I don't know if it will. It could. I think I don't see any surprises coming from that, but it will move the market. That's what I see for this week. Okay. Um, Again, I don't know how often I'm gonna do these weekends. I just thought that this was pretty cool to see the sector breakdowns, the weights, and to just not think everything's flying higher when it isn't. It's not just markets flying higher. It isn't. Not every stock's going crazy. I mean, usually you'd want to see Google and the strong, Nvidia and AMD and the big boys flying, but they're not all flying, right? Those little guys were flying together in the S&P. The smaller sectors with financials were industrials flying high, right? So an Apple just took XLK with it. So I don't want to get too repetitive. That's all I wanted to break down. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Of course, tomorrow I'm going to do my pre-market futures analysis with crude and the NQ and the ES in the morning. I'm not going to get too repetitive with these resistances because I spoke about it today. But hopefully this helped somebody out. Maybe it made sense more of the market. And hopefully with all these resistance ahead of us, it's not just going to be easy. Let's go flying high. Okay. And it's August. So if please subscribe, please comment, ask me a question, I'll answer. I'm getting better at this, I think. I hope. Let me know. And what could I do to improve? Hopefully, you enjoy the content. I'm going to keep doing it. I mean, I'm working on 4.5, 5 years. I've been doing the markets, been really watching it very, very closely. Been an obsession of mine. So hopefully everybody enjoyed this, and please subscribe and comment. Thanks.